Okay, I know it's the end of a pretty long day, but I can assure you this will probably be one of the most, if not the most, interesting panels that we have. I do want to thank you all for hanging around for this interesting discussion. The title of the panel is Life in Ukraine, Living Under Constant Attack. Now, much of the public conversation about Ukraine understandably focuses on military developments, diplomacy, and geopolitics. But this last panel this afternoon, we want to focus on something more immediate and more human. And that is what it means to live day after day under the threat of attack. What it means for families, communities, schools, hospitals, workplaces, and daily routines. And what resilience looks like when danger becomes a constant part of life. So this panel is an opportunity to hear directly from people who know that reality firsthand. Our goal is not only to understand the facts of the war, but to better understand the human experience enduring it. So we're really fortunate to have an outstanding group of panelists with us, and I want to thank each of you for being here and sharing your perspectives up front. The first person I'm going to introduce is not here because of a temporary illness, but maybe she'll show up later on and said just go ahead and press without her. But that's Ms. Yana Bilash, the Director of Administration for the Ukrainian Freedom Fund. And her story is, while millions left Ukraine, Yana stayed to care for family during the most intense battles of the full-scale Russian invasion, and she prepared to fight them if they got into the city. That's real spirit. Next, retired Colonel Mikhailo Penkovich. You met him earlier as a naval aviator, became the Deputy Chief of Staff of the Ukrainian Navy Command, returned to service in 2022, commanded a rifle battalion for 2 years, then moved to the Ministry of Defense on the IG staff, and then retired again in 2024. Next, we have retired Navy Captain Andrei Ryzhenko. Again, you've met him earlier. He served over 35 years at sea and ashore, including aboard surface warships, Ukrainian Navy headquarters, NATO SHAPE headquarters, and the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. And rounding out the group is none other than our esteemed Executive Director of the Ukrainian Freedom Fund and former Marine Colonel, Mr. Andy Bain. Andy's been a resident of Kyiv for over 3 decades. So here's how we're going to proceed. Each panelist is going to offer some opening remarks so we can hear in their own words how they see the situation and what they most want this audience to understand. And then after all the panelists have spoken, we'll open it up to all of you for your questions. So with that brief introduction, let's begin with Andy, and we'll go down the panel in reverse order. Over to you. You can come up here or you can use the mic, your choice.
Okay, well, since I'll start, I'm just going to say life for me in Ukraine is a little bit different than for the others because my family doesn't live there. I have a U.S. passport. I can leave any time, which psychologically makes it a very different experience for me. It's the difference between camping and being in the infantry. If you're camping and the heavy cold rain starts going, you just pick up and leave. If you're in the infantry, you're stuck, and it sucks. And I can go anytime, which gives me it makes life a lot easier for me. Right now I would say the only difference between Kiev now and Kiev, say 10 years ago, is that there's less traffic. Life is frankly a lot easier in a lot of ways. The alarms go off every time a rocket or a plane comes towards Ukraine. Alarms go off. They go off so often that some people check their Telegram channels to see if a rocket's coming to their neighborhood. But I frankly just ignore it. If it wakes me up at night, I just roll over and go back to sleep. Very few people, except if you live near a defense plant or a utility plant, very few people really get excited about the alarms anymore. Statistically, and I tell this to everyone I see, they say, isn't it dangerous? Aren't you afraid? Statistically, Kiev is far safer than any major American city. It's safe to walk at night. There's very little crime. the chances of getting killed in any city in America are far higher than getting killed in Kiev. Chances of getting killed by a Russian rocket are far higher than in Kiev, but every other risk is higher in the United States. And so it's actually a fairly safe lifestyle that I don't mind. The one thing you do have, and Yana would talk to this more poignantly than I would if she were here, is I've got apart from the Freedom Fund, I've got a separate company that does advertising and media with 170 employees. And in February and January, the utilities were off. There was no heat in the apartments. The temperature was -5. I mean, it was cold, and it was not pleasant. And in 1 week of my 170 employees, 3 of them had parents die from exposure. And a story that's not being told that people don't know about or are just not aware of is that a lot of, not the soldiers, there's soldiers being killed obviously, but there's a lot of elderly, infirm that are, can't get out. If there is an alarm and you're elderly in a wheelchair or whatever on the 16th floor of a tower, you're not going to the bomb shelter even if it is a risk. And a lot of people in that category are dying, and it's just not being reported on. It'll be an interesting story when someone finally picks up on it. But during wartime, the Ukrainian government's not interested in those kinds of statistics because they don't help the situation. The last thing I'd say that sort of struck me early in the war, when Kiev was under siege, there was constant artillery fire in the background, but you knew it wasn't going to hit you. So it was just kind of a cool background. You know, if you were a Marine, having artillery fires, it makes it a little more interesting. But I realized growing up, when you thought about what was life like in a major European war in one of the European countries, you knew what it would. You had a vision of what it was like based on the movies and watching The World at War, the documentary. And I realized that when you're watching those movies in the war, they always have background music to tell you how you should feel. And real war in Kiev doesn't have background music. So you don't, if you're about to get hit by a random missile, you don't know that that's going to happen. But most of the time you're not going to get it. I've had several artillery rocket strikes near my apartment, but they were the first 2 rocket strikes in the war in 22, and since then nothing's hit nearby. So I don't really get excited about much of it, and I don't want to downplay the seriousness of war, but life is frankly not all that bad, for me. And Andre and Misha can put it in a different context, but as an American, I think it's important to point out that a lot of times the drama is overplayed in some context. But I'll pass it to Ian.
Our topic today is living under constant attack, and we have many stories, positive, negative stories. Its life has significant influence war has significant influence for our life, and but again, we are confident that we will survive and we will live in our country. Our country is for us, and we are confident in our feelings. We're confident for our armed forces. And right now I will give you just overall information what happened in Ukraine, and we will start. So we plan to do our panel, 3 of us today, but unfortunately Yana will possibly come later, so it's all together. We create some information, but we expect more questions from you to give you much bigger information. So people's life in Ukraine has changed significantly over past 4 years. War has become part of everyday reality, transforming not only cities but very rhythm of life. The full scale of war in Ukraine has dramatically reshaped the country's demographic landscape. Over 3.5 years, past 3.5 years, the population has declined by at least for 10 million. You can see that by middle 25, the number dropped to 34.5 million, and by the end of the 2025 we have 31 million, so totally decline for 10 million. So mostly for 10 millions. Mass immigration has been the primary driver of population decline. Approximately 6.5 million live over left country and live in Europe, mostly in Germany, Spain, Czech Republic, Italy, and overall 350,000 came to United States under different governmental program. So you hosted many Ukrainian, thank you. And life continue as per, our country survive, our country rise up, and right now situation very stabilized. We know what we are doing, economy growing up, and based on the information we have, GDP forecast for 2026 is up to 2.5%, and forecast slight acceleration. We expect in slight acceleration in 2026, or 27 and 28 to 3.5 and 4.5 respectively. The biggest concern we face right now is attack of critical infrastructure and security, of course. Based on statistics we have got from 2025, more than 19,000 air alert was happening around Ukraine. You can see the most attacked city, biggest city, most attack was conducted of biggest city in East Ukraine. And the highest alarm is Kharkiv region, Sumy region, and Zaporizhia region, also Kiev. Kiev is always under attack, so it's one of biggest concern for people. As I tell you, despite of constant threats, we have got, life is going on. Maintaining calm, positivity, and the flow of everyday work remains a priority, which is why city continue to function so actively even during the wartime. So people leave, people don't wanna, many people left, but people who stay in Ukraine, they decide it's our country, we will leave, we will never move out. And yesterday have question and I explained situation in Chernihiv I faced last week when during the daytime 2 shaheds were flying above Chernihiv, and young mom with his daughter was walking, and they do not go to shelter, they just stay looking, and 50 cal machine gun was shooting this shahed. He was like flying and this crazy noise about you, and I was really surprised that this young lady was like, no fear, they look up, look where is shahed fly, and go continue to do their job. So people accustomed to this, it's not good accustomed, but people accustomed. And 4 years of war show us that easier to this crazy situation in war we can accustom. So the next slide is just daily situation with drones, like 1 day of drones flying around the Ukraine, missiles, so from different direction, each of us connected to Telegram. You sleep with phone, you look for phone, any noise, you just open Telegram and check what direction they flying, what attack, missile attack. You have 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes if you stay in Kyiv. So everything is under control, but you have to run to shelter, or you have to stay in your house, in restroom or somewhere else. But right now, warhead of any shaheds do not allow you to stay at home. You have to go immediately to the shelter. So each building, every residential building has shelters. People bring all what they need to stay overnight and stay in kids, people, dogs, animals, everything in one place, everybody in one place, playing balls, reading books, just speaking with each other. And in Kiev, sometimes we have like week, daily under attack, and people suffering from not sleeping. And they, because like 8 o'clock morning, you have to go, work started, and you have no choice. You wanted to sleep, but life going on, you have to work, and it's really, really crazy, and suffering people, and people exhausted from this. Also, we suffer from attack from critical infrastructure, heating facility, electricity facility. So I live in the left bank in Kiev, in the left bank on Dnipro. It's like district, 10 minutes from downtown. But I mean, in January 2026, they destroyed power plant, and we don't have electricity. It was, before it was like 6-hour electricity, 4 hour out, 4 hour out of electricity. When they destroyed facility, we have no electricity, no lights. You use power banks. We prepare, every house prepare extra equipment. You use power bank, but you need to recharge it. And in all January was very tough situation. It was low temperature, very cold winter and morning. And in early February, Russia attacked. Early February, Russia attacked Darnitsa combined heat and power plant. It was one plant that covered with heating system all our district, and we didn't have warming in our house by the end of the winter. So local government tried to refix it, but it's not possible. It's very massive damage critical damage was done by this plant. And you stay, no electricity, but internet working. So you connected to the power bank, you can communicate, and you have no lights. You stay. Some people cooking food outside the house using just wood and fire. And government established many survive points where you can recharge your battery or mobile phone. So, but it's unusual for you, but for us it's like life, part of our life. We are accustomed to this, and we know we don't have chance, but we will stay, we will defend, we will survive. We will never show to this crazy Putin and his, I don't know what team, I don't know, I don't want to speak about these people, but just we'll never give up, never. We will stay, we will live in this country, we will grow our people. And in Kiev situation, like Andy mentioned, really critical, because if air alarm start, metro, all the public transport is stopped, no driving. So you look and you go to work, it's much better to use metro because it's easy, parking problem always crowded, city is crowded. So, and you check the air alarm and look, okay, time to go, use your car or go to metro. If alarm, metro close, you use your car, it's big influence to your life. As I was mentioning, each family was under influence of war. In 2022, Russia rockets destroyed my oldest son's house, and rocket was shoot a room of my small granddaughter. I was so angry, I told I never forgive them. I will do everything if I have energy to destroy this enemy, you know, like it was. And in 2024, destroyed Shahed was destroyed my house, like, but not exactly my house, my building where I live. So we collect money because government programs support us, but we collect money, we fix it ourselves. We buy extra batteries, so every people understand, so you don't need to ask twice. You ask, you need money, everybody collecting how many each based on possibility you have, we collect money, we buy extra battery, we use working lifts, and every system in building is working right now. So people try to survive, people do everything to make life easier and better. Oh, it's all look like all. And just to finish my, I wanted to say that resilience is a clear demonstration of the incredible spirit and bravery of people that live in Ukraine. So we know that next winter will be very, very bad. So we have forecasts that they will destroy before winter our facility. We are achieve air defense system to the city government working very well. People looking already for winter. People prepare extra power, extra banks. So we are doing well. And we will survive in this crazy situation. Thank you very much.
So good afternoon again. I give an opportunity to explain my experience living in the Ukraine. Yeah, I'm live now in town of Irpin. Maybe you heard about this. It's a small town close to Kiev. Currently it's town hero, and actually it's a blocked Russian infiltration operation territory of Ukraine on 24 February, when they planned to fly from Russia via Belarus. Firstly, they seized airport Hostomel, where Ukrainian big aircraft Mriya located. And after plan was to move 20 Ilyushin 76 with airborne guys, and we knew that they already was concentrated in town of Ivanovo in Russian Federation. And yeah, I'm living just here. Before 2014, I was living in Sevastopol in Crimea, and I originally was born there. Yeah, it's also Ukraine. And in 91, when it was a poll after Soviet Union disintegration, most of people in Crimea and Sevastopol said that they would like to be in Ukraine, not in Russia. Now many people who stay in Sevastopol in Crimea, they still keep Ukrainian passports after 12 years of the occupation. My parents stay in Sevastopol just simply because they didn't have money to buy something in Ukraine continental part. And my father passed away in 2018, and I couldn't go for the funerals. I was looking funerals on Skype, and I haven't seen, I saw his grave just again on picture, and I don't know when I will be back and see. Yeah, I moved my mom in 2018 also to Irpin. It was like military operation, how to move. And actually me and my family, we live in Irpin, nice town, 65,000 population, a lot of forest, a lot of parks. Looks really nice, but life very changed in 24 February. Yeah, I told you about airport Gostomel, and during, Irpin was occupied by Russians for months. And they try to break this our block of their penetration to Kiev. This is why they attack very heavily certain point of Irpin, in particular close to military hospital, and they did a lot of damages. In Irpin, 3,000 private buildings was severely damaged, and 300 people killed. Maybe you know about city of Bucha, town of Bucha. It's very close to us. And in Bucha was vice versa. Very few buildings were damaged, but much more people killed. Yeah, but it's how it happened. This is 2022. You see, this is famous bridge, Romanivka village. It's a primary bridge to connect with Kiev. And next morning, after Russians started war, it was exploited by our guys. You see, and it's blocked Russian movement to the Kiev. And we saved Kiev, actually. And this tiny little fort, it's already was built after after Irpin was liberated. You see this river, it's called Irpin. It's a 15 meters weight, and they never crossed it. Now they're thinking about crossing Dnipro, which is 40 times wider. Yeah, I don't think it's possible. Yeah, because they never crossed this tiny little creek. This is how it looks like. This is 200 meters from my townhouse. And they came with this BRDM. It's air assault vehicles. And they occupied these condominiums. And they stay for 1 month, actually. My mom, she left in Irpin because she was in age. She said, I will not go. And she was taken as a prisoner of war and stayed 2 weeks under Russian this arrest. And it's interesting, she had a neighbor. He was a professor, 72 years old, from Lugansk. And he started to scream on Russians. What are you? Was a lexicon, very specific, came here, and Russians just shoot him. And they kept this gentleman 3 days with them, killed in the basement, and after make a little some funerals in the backyard. And after Irpin was liberated, they moved him to the cemetery. Yeah, it's a real picture from a window. Russians, they planned to go very quickly to Kiev. And when its resistance show up, they start to build something to live. And you see this improvised, whatever, I don't know, what is it, squad place for living. Obviously, they were lootering everything, houses, shops, was stealing alcohol, clothes, everything. Yeah, they get inside my house, and also they stolen all my collection of wine, around 50 bottles of wine. And only positive from this, maybe finally they tested good wine, because everything what is in Russia produced, it's just something very, very bad. Yeah, this is how it looks like, still looks like, approach to Irpin, because they try to use other ways to penetrate to Kiev, and we stopped them. It still exists. If you need some spare parts to museum, actually, welcome. Yeah, frankly speaking, in 2022, we used these ruins really for our equipment as well. But now it just stay aside of the road. People can stay and see it. Yeah, this is, for me, interesting story. I come back in April, like mid of April, as soon as city was open for the people, and I came to my house. It was complete mess inside because they robbed it, they broken some stuff, and this NBC News called me and said, "Okay, Andrei, we would like to see how you living." I say, "Okay, come to me." Big two those American minibuses come with a lot of media guys. And in my house, I have 2 sappers who was investigating for the booby traps. Because my neighbor townhouse, they found the booby trap. It was a grenade connected to the elliptic machine. And as soon as electricity on, it would be explosion. And these guys was crawling like dogs looking for this possible explosives. And this NBC guys, "Oh, can we make record?" Guys, okay, look, as soon as we listen, just very like grenade or whatever, like we have 4 seconds, okay? During 4 seconds, we need to jump out by ourselves, and we are not sure that we will help you to leave this area. And these guys immediately move out. Yeah, but they put this reportage, and I became famous, actually. Yeah, but it's a picture from this reportage, you see, and this is buildings close to the hospital. In fact, UFF helped to this hospital, Irpin Hospital, significantly after town was liberated, providing some windows to the surgery room, and also a diesel generator for the surgery room. And they were very thankful to this. Now it's very different in 4 years, but I simply don't have a picture. But they destroyed almost all of this area. Yeah, and it's very new, quite new used to be. Yeah, this is my mom's house, and you see April 22, April 26. It just 3 days ago, I asked my wife to send me this picture. You see, they were shooting to the roof of the buildings, Russians, because they were thinking we have a sniper or whatever, and it was a complete fire, and all of the engineering system were damaged, destroyed. It took a lot of efforts to people to fix it, but actually it probably took a year and a half, and also was a lot of different embassies, different funds who helped, but it's really expensive actually. We paid a lot, and then it was, yeah, but we fixed in a year and a half, and you see how it looks now. It's one way, it's another, and this is my mom window, this one over there, you see. It looks now not bad. With this BRDM, this armored vehicle, which I showed you before, what they did, they start to shoot here, to this part of building, and I have also a picture inside. I don't know why, but they destroyed completely this part, but it's already fixed. Yeah, it's how it looks from front. You see it completely burned out and destroyed. This is now. This is my place. Yeah. Yeah, it's famous like a mall. It's not so big like in America, but it's we call it Giraffe. And in this area, we stopped Russian also because they tried to go from Bucha via Irpin to Kiev. Yeah, and we need to actually, yeah, it was a little bit destroyed, but this is how it looks now. Yeah, it's, and as Misha said, really the biggest challenge for people is air attacks, because they're attacking military, they're attacking civilian, and they're attacking infrastructure. Last winter was really obstacle course, because they destroyed this many of the electrical generator facility, and starting from mid of January to beginning of March, we had maybe sometimes from no hour of electricity per day, maybe to 6 hour maximum. But people survive using this tiny little stuff called like EcoFlow. You accumulate energy, you switch it automatically to the system, electrical system. And as for me, I could stay maybe between 6 and 12 hours using this guy, no electricity, using gas heating and refrigerator, and maybe even have a luxury to see television. Yeah, this is the biggest attack, air attack on Ukraine during this war. You see, last one was in March, and in total it was 982 Russian air targets, and this is number of drones, combat drones, and missiles shut down. Percentage normally it's 85 plus. But it was period of time when it was stop of supply of the missiles and some ammunition. It was really like 10%. But it's more or less, I would say, okay. If we could imagine that all of this 982 hit a target, it would be disaster. Thanks for your help and on our partners. And for our armed forces, because they are 24/7. As Andy, I share his experience. I never go to shelter, simply because my house in the middle of oak grove, actually, and it's protected by 100 years oaks. And only disturbance not far away from Irpin, located like electrical terminal, which supply Kiev with electricity from Rivne nuclear power plant. And Russians send a Zircon missile, hypersonic. And when our air defense intercepted it, for some reason happening close to Irpin, and I'm sleeping, I'm jumping on my bed, actually. It's quite challenging, but it's happening not very frequently. It's a problem, but it's already out. And people now know what to do. Only challenge that it's cost a bit. And for people who is on a pension, a little bit older, it's really hard to save money for this. Yeah, it's actually concluding my stuff. You see, only what happened, what remained after the war in my yard. This is holes from a Russian explosion of shells from mortars. Because there was shelling in Irpin, and it exploded on these oaks, and they damaged my fence. I was planning to change it, but my friends come and say, okay, please leave it as a history. And I just put this tiny little flower, and this is what I like the most is my sakura. When I was in States, I saw sakura in Washington, D.C., and planted and it survived war, actually. It's called Sakura Burgundy with the red leaves. Very nice. I hope it will be blooming in a couple weeks. Yeah, life is going. It's a hard, people tired, but actually, yeah, it works, it's going, and in Irpin, a lot of new building of the houses, a lot of young people, and we hope that people who is currently overseas will come back. And yeah, it concludes my presentation. You see, it's a tiny little our adventure to the Kursk. Yeah, and it's happened because they took Irpin.
Okay, folks, well, we'll take the next 10, 15 minutes for your questions. Please come on up front.
Got a quick question. How are the children in Ukraine dealing with all this? Is it a lot of mental health issues, or?
Yes.
Frankly speaking, I haven't seen anybody with mental issue. Yeah, I heard that many of the children, like parents, keep them abroad for this reason. But those whom I saw in Kiev or Irpin or whatever, I haven't seen. Yeah, but it's also we have a strict procedure. Even we neglecting these rules. But if it's a kindergarten or it's school, they have a quite precise rules what to do during air alerts. And you know, it was case when Putin sent the 5 cruise missiles on a children's hospital called Okhmadit in the center of Kiev. And it's not far away from our office. We just sit in, it's air alert. Yeah, we're thinking, should we go or not? And it's an explosion not far away. And these 5 cruise missiles hit this hospital. It was not casualties, and we even couldn't react. But somehow we didn't have casualties. But again, I don't see, it might happen, but I don't think it's massive systematic problem, I would say. But yeah, but we take care on children, and they're first who evacuated during alerts.
Overall, more than 3,500 kids was killed during 4 years of war. It's really challenging us. It's very bad, and kids leave. I have granddaughters, 4 years old, and she, when air alarm, she asking shahed or missiles, shahed, and he take iPod and run to shelter and sitting and watching cartoons she liked, because they love watching cartoons only when air alarm. So we did not explain her that war happened. We just keep this, try to not harm her and defend her from the situation. But honestly, yes, it's full influence for health of people, especially for psychology, because many of them face this attack, explosions in Kiev and around the Ukraine. So it's critical situation, especially with kids, because influence for them, they're not so strong to keep them from this situation. Yes.
Yeah. I have a comment rather than a question. I don't live in Ukraine, but I've been spending 8 weeks in Ukraine every year since the full-scale invasion. And one of the things that really strikes me is the strength and resilience of civil society. And there wasn't enough, I think, talking about that. But that is one reason the country's not falling apart, because everyone does what they can do, whatever it's making screens for, those cloth screens to cover tanks. They provide mental health services at the local grassroots level. The civil society scene is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, and that ought to be stressed as one of the strengths of the country during a war. And one other comment. The restaurants are fantastic in Ukraine. Okay? The pastries are delicious. Every pastry chef does the best that they can possibly do, even gluten-free stuff. And the hotels, the boutique hotels, and I've been all the way to Dnipro last summer, so I know what I'm talking about. The boutique hotels are superb, superb. I've also done some just touristy stuff because there is interior tourism and people have vacations. They take their kids to a fortress, blah, blah, blah. So that's what I wanted to stress, because that is actually, if you don't have that, no matter how good your military is, it ain't gonna work. Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am.
I would like to add, I forgot to say, months ago we opened McDonald's in Europe, actually. I know it's popular in the US.
Well, there goes the food.
I'll just, on the restaurant scene, Yana, who's not here, she's my deputy. She and I like to joke a lot last summer as to how many restaurants that weekend were having champagne and oyster specials. So there's a context to the war.
Okay, let me jump in with one for all of you. What do you most want Americans to understand that they may not see in headlines or social media?
I think from a strategic context, Americans don't understand how critical Ukraine is to the United States. It's critical to the regional stability in Europe, which is critical to global stability. And the reason we have so many Americans volunteering to go over here, retired senior military officers, is they get that. They understand it in the way politicians who have not studied national security or been raised on national security may not understand. And I think it would be nice if our citizens were educated to a degree, and I suspect most of you get it here because you're here, but I think a lot of our citizens don't really understand. Ukraine's a different war. We don't know where it is. It doesn't matter. But if Ukraine falls, it emboldens Russia. It destabilizes the superpower status quo. And so I think just understanding why it's important that we're there would be something nice if all our citizens grasped.
Yeah, I would like to say, but will not say. But you see, but really, Ukraine is the biggest country in Europe, entirely located. We have a lot of minerals. Potentially it's a good economy, and really, if we fail down under Russia, it will be extremely big problem for the whole Europe. And I would say we don't ask too much actually. Now we request assistance. We're surviving now. We don't have actually support from US as used to be already more than a year. All support coming, it's contracted support. We need to help a little bit, and we will be very valuable for US, for the Europe actually. Because Russia, I'm not sure Putin will go out, but what will be with Russia? It's hard to re-educate this empire. How about this? Ukraine is important. We don't ask much. Help us, and you will see how much it will be what will be paid back, actually. Yeah, that's it.
Ukraine, for my opinion, Ukraine strong because we have very strong people, our soil and family connected. So we love our country. We have enough manpower to defend our country 2-3 more years, but we are a small country in comparison with enemies that attack us. So yes, we are fighting on the white side of this war, against black side of this of fighting against us. So yes, we're looking for support. Any kind of support important to us, and people very appreciate it. And Armed Forces of Ukraine, we're ready to fight, but we need resources, we need help, and we will continue to fight. We will finish this because we defend our country. Thank you.
Well, I think it's a good place to close, and as we do that, I'd like to offer that discussions like this matter because they do remind us that behind every headline are human lives, daily choices, and extraordinarily incredible resilience on the part of the civil population that you brought up. I think is very important. So a big thank you to our panelists for sharing these experiences and insights with such honesty. And thank all of you for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of your day.